We are eating so well somehow. I mean, the 3 new skins are all good. The new map just launched and so far people are not complaining, but the best part is yet to come. Because while it was confirmed that in the second half of the Spirit Blossom season we are getting a new game mode, right now people can already test it on PBE. And of course, anytime Riot gives us a new map to explore, it is my duty to explore it on its surface as well as underneath it. And after playing quite a few games of Brawl, I can already tell you, Riot is onto something here. So first, let's quickly go through the gameplay. Brawl is our newest game mode that takes place on the tiniest map we have ever seen. That is, unless you count Singularity. I mean, that's it. That's the entire map. It is just 2 sides where one is blue and the other one is purple, just like it is on Summoner's Rift. It has 1 lane, just like ARAM, but it also has jungle monsters, unlike it is on ARAM. With the goal of this game mode being very simple.
Kill and destroy.
No, really, this is the closest we have ever been to a proper League of Legends deathmatch. There are no nexuses, no towers, just a single lane where you are killing the enemy. For every kill, you decrease the enemy team's overall health, with the first team to deplete their health losing. Alternatively, outside of just getting kills, in the early game, killing minions will also decrease it, and during the entire game, if you allow your minions to enter the enemy base, that will damage it too. And what's crazy is that overall, this just works. It's the simplest, stupidest fun we've had so far. And yes, sure, that includes Singularity. But here Riot mentioned that the simplicity also has one intention. This should be a really good game mode that could allow new players to learn League of Legends. Because it strips away all the objectives and everything around it. Which means new players can focus on nothing but the mechanics of the champions. From that perspective, this works really well. It is a game mode that behaves just like ARAM, there is constant action everywhere. Like really, it is so close to the simple fun of ARAM that while I was playing Brawl, I actually thought I couldn't go back to base. But yes, you can do that, and in fact, you should. By going back to base and not dying, you prevent the enemy from getting points. So if you can, just try and fight your own inner ARAM OCD. But also, just like it happens in ARAM, what I noticed is that killing the enemy team is the only thing anyone ever focuses on. Like, yes, there are jungle monsters around the map, but the chances are no one is really focusing on killing the jungle monsters. That's mostly because anytime you do anything at all, there is always an enemy player nearby. And so if you happen to kill a jungle monster, it is usually because you just stood nearby as it was there. And so my feedback would be, it would be cool if the jungle monsters gave you some kind of a special buff that is slightly better than just normal buffs. But outside of this, what is absolutely perfect is the game duration. An average game of Brawl takes you 10 minutes. And that is all while it still feels like a proper full-length game. This is something no other game modes were ever able to achieve. I mean, even Swift play usually lasts about 30 minutes. That's not very swift if you ask me. And ARAM is of course in the exact same boat. It cuts down on the lanes, but it doesn't cut down on the game duration. So this is the first time we got a meaningful League of Legends experience that is also fast and fun. Long live Dominion. And so purely on the gameplay side, this is a big success. And so indeed, so far the first impressions are great. So now we'll have to wait and see how well does this game mode do in the long term. Because, truth be told, it can be used for like a glorified tutorial for new players. But of course here, it is still me talking about game modes, which means that outside of gameplay, we also have to look at the aesthetics, which means we might break some things. So let's start with a fair warning. Currently, if you launch a replay of this game mode, some things might break. For example, the VFX on the portals might disappear, as well as Yuumi. Yuumi just breaks. And so, starting with the bottom side. As I said, the bottom side is based around blue. And that's kinda it. The only distinguishing factor is the colors of the crystals. Which are your invisible towers? that's foreshadowing into the future. Anyway, what's really awesome is that the shopkeeper of the bottom base is none other than Nora, the most well-known Yordle that is actually not playable in League of Legends. The reason why we even have this model of Nora is because it was originally made for TFT. Now, because Nora is a very science and magic based character, of course she's surrounded by a lot of books. I mean, that's why Yumi, who is Nora's cat, also had Book, which is the name for the book. And so besides just the sea of books around her, you can see that there is one with Teemo's hat on it. This is quite possibly the Scout's code. You can also see that she enjoys some pie with coffee or possibly tea, with the teapot having a really cool Spirit Blossom frog on it, likely referencing the new Spirit Blossom map. The book in front of her is teasing Yordle magic, but there is also a special book next to her which seems to be referencing Vygar. Although, when you have a look at the signature, that kinda reads Jax. Like, I'm not crazy, right? Even in the texture, it still kinda reads Jax. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's actually Vygar's signature, but it still seems to be Vygar on it. Also, around Yumi, who is supposed to be sleeping, but the replay system broke her, you can see some cat toys. And on the side of the bookshelf, you can indeed see a poster of Vygar again. There is even a second one towards the top side of the base. And yes, just like I always do it after the entire Arcane ARAM incident, the first thing I do is that I dive underneath the merchant. And on this map I can see that somehow everything is clean. I did not expect this. Anyway, moving away from the bottom base, moving along the bottom side, in the midway point there is a really cool waterfall. There's not much to mention here besides the awesome VFX that are surrounding it, and perhaps the fact that the water that is dropping down is actually a parallaxing texture. And that's kinda it. Also, what this also shows us is that this entire map is taking place on the roots of the Bandle tree. I mean, that's really what the entire Bandle city is. It is all just intertwining roots of the one tree. And so because everything is connected to the Bandle tree, you can also see all the yellow seedlings around. These are not meeps, which would be connected to Bard. These should indeed just be seeds. Now, moving towards the top side of this map, there is one Easter egg we can point out here, which is Vygar's staff. And that's kinda it. There is also a beautiful view behind it, but we'll talk about that one in a moment. More importantly, if you move towards the middle of the map, if you look behind one of the bushes, you will see a Thunder Gnome. Why is the Thunder Gnome here? Well, that actually has a really cool reason. You see, this entire game mode was made as part of the Thunderdome, with the Thunderdome being Riot's internal game jam. Essentially, it's a challenge where writers only have a few days to create something cool that's playable, and it just so happens to be that this game mode started as one of those quick projects. So the Thunder Gnome is a reference to the Thunderdome. But of course, that's not the only cool thing in the middle, because here we also get the portals. And this is where things get really cool. You see, as I mentioned, the goal of this game mode is to push minions into the enemy base, after which they gleefully hop inside. Now, what are these portals? These portals are the other League of Legends maps, which means this entire game mode shows us how minions spawn. After going through the portal, the minions then appear on the other maps. For example, in my game I saw a portal that leads into ARAM, with the other portal leading into Nexus Blitz. Because remember, Nexus Blitz also had minions. In total, there are 4 possible portals that can appear, and they are totally client-based. Which means not everyone sees the same portal, with the 4 possibilities being ARAM, Nexus Blitz, the normal Summoner's Rift, and the arcane version of ARAM. Of course, the reason why you don't have something like the Arena here is because Arena didn't have minions. Again, this is just a really cool way to show us where minions come from. The minions actually spawn in the Bandle City and then they hop onto the Summoner's Rift. Which begs the question, how do the minions get onto the Brawl map? Anyway, again, because everything is Bandle City themed here, with of course the portals also being portals that are normally created by the Bandle tree, when champions recall or when they respawn, they also get special Bandle City VFX. They spawn in using Yordle magic. In fact, if you wanna see all the cool things that are here on this map, you should have a look at Sir Hein's Twitter. Here we saw that there is a really cool intro shot whenever you get into the game. The recall also has special Yordle magic around it. When you fall behind, you get a buff, which also has special VFX. Whenever you get a kill, your screen also shakes, and that looks really good in game. There are also special VFX whenever you kill minions and they give you score, and the list just keeps going. There are so many awesome VFX details, which leads us into the top side of the environment. Here, as I mentioned, everything is purple, or at least the crystals are, and this is where I noticed a really cool thing, which happened to appear after I broke the replay. You see, what can happen is that if you fast forward in replay, you will just see all the turrets around. These are the same turrets that are on Summoner's Rift, but here on this map they are just invisible. In fact, it is these turrets that actually shoot the shots at the enemy. So the turrets are still in the game, but they are hidden. The crystals are just sitting on top of the place where they shoot from. And I learned all of that because of a bug. Anyway, the top side does not have Nora, and instead it has Kabuko, a whole new Yordle that is fully canonical in this universe, which was created for TFT. Now here it seems like Kabuko opened his little bakery. He has croissants and baked rolls and everything else you would find in a bakery. But if you're wondering how did he acquire all of these, especially how did he get the cupcakes? Well, behind the shop you can see that he is disassembling the traps. In the files they are even called Yordle traps. It's the same ones which Caitlyn is using on the Summoner's Rift. And so Kabuko takes these apart and he just takes the cupcakes. That's a little cool lore fact for you, I guess. Also, another awesome detail is that here you can see he also has a pie. A pie that is missing one piece. Who has that piece? Well, of course, it is Nora. See, these two are friends even in the middle of minion warfare. But now we can also have a look at the background of this entire map. Again, as I mentioned, we are on the roots of the Bandle Tree, which is ever growing and ever twisting, and who the heck knows what's really happening here. What I love is that you can also see just pieces of floating islands around, with the cool twist being that for the sake of optimization, those are just 2D images. Yes, even the bubbles are just flat planes with not moving textures, and the illusion of movement is there because of the shifting normal reflections or whatever those are, as well as the particle effects. And indeed, the main island is just one plane that is slightly bent. The optimization is crazy, but that's kinda it for the aesthetics of this game mode. Now, I am expecting some changes to drop here for the duration of the PBE, but I wouldn't expect too many new Easter eggs dropping around. For example, I did spend a lot of time searching for any possible hints for a new Necrit hat. I am not making the same mistake I did last time. And so now I am fairly sure it is not here. I even went through the textures and I couldn't find anything. Although, here's the thing. If we go back to Kabuko's bakery, you might notice all the croissants. Well, these croissants don't have textures in the normal Brawl asset pack, which means this map is using a texture from the Arcane ARAM map, likely. And so it is possible that they might be using textures that are from outside of just the Brawl map. So in theory, they can use the texture that has the hat on it, but that texture is really massive, and I doubt Riot would load it in just for a single joke that would be aimed at me. The twist being, this map is so well optimized, they can totally do that.